Now, you speak your mind, too, but I haven't seen anything profanity-laced. I haven't seen anything provocative.
Nope.
I haven't seen anything
Never.
that, for any reason, anyone should take offense of. And yet, Zuckerberg and family booted you the other day. What's that about?
I imagine my shock when I woke up 2 days ago and go to log on to Facebook, and I was so upset because it was the day that my daughter was performing at the school choir. And, as moms, we're checking in, we're taking photos of our kids, and we want to post it. We want our kids, everyone see how talented my child is, how beautiful, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't do any of that because I was blocked from Facebook for 24 hours due to, it said, violating community standards.
Yeah.
And that they had deleted a post that I made, and it was a shared video from Donald Trump on CNN when he was saying that we need to close our borders, ban Muslims until we get this figured out. And I had commented on shared it, the video, and commented, Trump has got it right, people. Pay attention just until we get this figured out. And that was all. And I see so much, like you were saying, I see pornography, horrible profanity, terrible things all over Facebook on a daily basis that I do not want to see. And I got blocked for voicing my opinion.
Well,
on a political stance.
You used a dirty word. You said Trump. And to those who, they thought it was funny at first. And now that they're really starting to sweat and see that the man could win and says he's in it to win it, this is what they do. Remember, they loved John McCain a long time, and they love him again now. But when he was running, they attacked him. Who do they love more than the Clintons? Nobody. But when they ran against Obama, they attacked Hillary, too. And, this is the game that is played, and they do it to us on social media. Yet, you can't talk about Donald Trump, but people could talk about, actual, hate mongers like the Louis Farrakhan's of the world, or, so many that we can mention. And you could put that up here and say, oh, this is great, and everything else. And nobody cares or bats an eye. And you're not the first one, Dena, who's told me this, who I've seen. You see these people, they say, I'm out of Facebook jail, as they put it, and it's unbelievable. But, they don't like free speech in this country. They're pro-everything, they're pro-choice, they say, unless it has anything to do with anything that they don't choose to do.
Well, that's okay, because I got on my other page and posted and tagged myself. So I still was able to put things on. And then after I got my 24 hours was up, I was all over posting. They're not going to shut me up. Are you kidding me? I'm 50 years old. I'll say whatever I want to say. Now, and I post again. Block me out again. I'll start another page. If
people really would pay attention to Mr. Trump's words and really look at what he's actually saying instead of these, fantastic headlines and sensationalized stuff. I mean, the Daily News, for instance, should just be ashamed of themselves what they've been doing lately. And they're doing it for money and for readership and all that. We know what they're doing. But like you said, the sheeple, as you said earlier, go for this. But if you actually look at what Donald Trump's talking about on all issues, but of course, the big one now is the border and terrorism and things of that nature. He has used tangible examples of the past to defend his stances, successful tangible examples, to go ahead and defend his stance and also to contrast and compare. He talked about Dwight Eisenhower in one of the debates. It was just great. And, of course, instead they're talking about nonsense the next day. Here he's talking about Jimmy Carter. I
was going to say that. This is not a first time.
Now, I
have had this argument with friends.
Yeah.
They keep on just talking about, this is terrible.
Yeah.
We can't ban our religion. I'm like, wait a minute. This is not the first time this has been done.
Right, and no one's banning anything.
No, and it's temporary. It's just to wrap our brains about what's going on, and people don't understand. I have just recently, myself, in the last few weeks, really been educated on this whole Muslim thing, and it's actually really scary.
Yeah.
There are many different forms of jihad. That's what people don't realize. It is much more than violence and killing and bombing us and, killing people.
Sure.
There's financial jihad. There's just all kinds of things. And my oldest daughter's 27. And we have arguments about this. And she's like, Mom, I read some of your Facebook posts and they do seem, kind of racist. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You don't understand.
Yeah.
I was raised in Missouri and lived in St. Louis for a while as a kid when my dad wanted to be the city guy. And our friends, our neighbors were, black people. We were just, no, I don't have a racist bone in my body. Do not call me that. It is offensive. But we're in a dire situation right now. But she's like, Mom, I was at this meeting and this really nice Muslim lady came and she was speaking. She was so nice. Well, you have to understand that's part of what they're doing to infiltrate us.
Of course.
If they just come off and be mean, then they can't get to us.
Right. Right in San Bernardino, they said the man showed no signs of anything the days before. Well, of course he didn't, because he was on a mission. And if you're good at what you do, and they're very good at what they do, quote unquote, you do it that way to be able to run. I also compare a lot of this to this name calling, this racist word that they like to throw around, and other names. You know what it's like? When you buy a washing machine, when you buy a television, and there's a rebate, you think to yourself, well, wait, why don't they just give me that at this price now? Well, the reason is because they hope that 50% or less of you drop it or forget about it or miss the due date, and then they make more money. Well, it's the same thing here. If I keep calling you names, even though you're not, and even though you know you're not, most people who don't like confrontation will say, well, I better back down. And that's what they want.
Yes.
They want people with the microphones to say these things. The Al Sharptons, the Michael Moores, the Mike Bloombergs, the Al Gores, the Hillary Clinton, that whole crew, because they're in front of a camera. And then you have especially old folks and young people, you sound like your daughter, who see this and go, oh, guess it's true. It's on TV. It's in the newspaper.
Yes, and they're very uneducated anyway. They're not even going out. And I asked my daughter, because I did try to read the Quran. I tried to read it because for me, religion is history. It's very interesting. And I have read, besides the Bible, I've read the Mormon book. I've just, as curiosity, so I tried to read the Quran. And I got a few pages in it, and it just turned to my stomach. I had to give it back to the Muslim friend who loaned it to me. And what I also found interesting, that when he loaned it to me, he put it in a brown paper bag and slid it to me. And I thought, well, that's odd. If I'm going to loan you a book, and especially my Bible, well, why am I embarrassed? Why am I hiding it? Why don't I want anyone to see what I'm giving you? So I thought that was very strange that he put it in a brown paper bag and kind of slid it to me. But I took it home and I tried to read it, and it was just sickening. So I brought it back to him. But people have to understand that there are many forms of jihad that Muslims have to go out and commit. They are commanded to go out and do these things. And the main thing that they're supposed to do is to take over countries, to take over nations. And there's lots of ways that you do that, Evan, not just by blowing us up.
No.
There's lots of ways that you infiltrate and take over nations. And you do that quite often with a smile on your face.
Absolutely. We've seen this in so many cases. We mentioned San Bernardino, but there have been so many others. And I mean, Ted Bundy was apparently a heck of a date before he bludgeoned you too. I mean,
sure.
You don't come in like a wild man, because then you only take one person out. You don't take out the whole crowd like they want to do, and do it for a reason and a purpose. And we see where places that are being hit. I mean, 9/11, New York City, because it's the capital of the world.
Well, I'm really worried here in Dallas. I mean, this is a huge city. A lot of things going on here. And I worry at night. We're kind of close to an airport and close to a highway, and so I hear lots of noises in the night. But there are some nights that, I don't know, it's just loud outside. Something's going on. And I'll think, oh, Lord, I tense up and wonder.
Isn't it?
Is there something crazy going on?
It really is. I haven't had that feeling since, little I would say post 9/11, with the whole color coding system. That used to turn my stomach a little bit when the radio would come on. And remember when you were a kid, that beep would come on and you knew it was always just a test. Now you hear it and you're, I was out with my daughter the other day watching football, and before the game started, the restaurant we were at, the fire alarm went off, and it was so loud and weird. And at first, most people, you'd think a fire alarm. And instead I'm looking around like, what do we got to do here? And it was nothing, but but you know what? That's bad and good news. I mean, you got to be vigilant. You got to be on top of things. And I wish our president, and I know if we had a President Trump, would be saying that as his main message. His main message would be vigilant, be ready, look for this, instead of the main message being this unbelievable, ridiculous thing about telling us about how not all Muslims are bad.
And you know what? Maybe They aren't. And you know what, Kevin, I hope they aren't. I pray to God they aren't. But right now, the world that we live in, we have to be vigilant. We have to, and there's nothing wrong. And even good Muslims, and I've posted videos from Muslims that have said that they agree with Donald Trump. If we're smart, and they will understand that this is what we need to do right now for our country's safety. If they're not bad, if they don't have any harm that they want to do towards us, then what problem would they have with us doing what we need to do? Just till we get this figured out. Because these people, they went to war against us a long time ago. This isn't new. 9/11 was a distraction, and we've been asleep, and Donald Trump has waken us up.
You're absolutely right.
Pay attention.
The only thing that's new here, Dena, is that there's an actual candidate that has an actual chance to win a nomination who's actually saying it in plain English and plain speaking. We know you're doing that too. I'm sure we'll both be off of Facebook by the end of the interview, but I appreciate.
Can we go back to MySpace? Do they still have that?
I'll put you in my top 8 if we do. But
okay.
we're very happy to have you with us. Of course, our great contributor Tamara Colbert also in the Lone Star State, and we get great vibes all the time from Texas. And Dena Miller, part of Texas Women for Trump Coalition, as Donald Trump continues to rock and roll and rise in the polls every time they try to bring him down. Dena Miller, thanks so much. We hope you join us again.
Trump 2016. Let's do it.
For more on Dena Miller, visit DenaDishes.com. That's DenaDishes.com. While liberals and milquetoasts piled on Donald Trump this past week, Sarah Palin served as a beacon of common sense. Palin writing on Facebook, "Hey media, try again to take down Trump and Cruz for understanding the Trump context. Herd mentality running rampant with hypocritical and or naive pundits trying to crush Donald Trump because he's committed to clobbering the bad guys and putting the good guys first. Trump's temporary ban proposal is in the context of doing all we can to force the feds to acknowledge their lack of strategy to deal with terrorism. I said it back in 2009 and got beat up by the left, but understood by the common sense right. And I'll say it again. If it saves lives, profile away." Palin added, "Ignore the White House as it spews talking point rhetoric accusing Trump, thus suggesting all who question their wrongheadedness, of being un-American. Yet it is their leader declaring his need to fundamentally transform America because he so wrongly sees our exceptional nation's foundation as fatally flawed. Now that is un-American." To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page, follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA, and check out sarahpac.com.